Hey everyone, happy Monday, August 24th. I'm Tanya Farron. I'm your host for tonight's Parent to Parent, and we're going to talk about calming the chaos, basically, of back to school with Heather Jones. I'm going to bring her up in just a minute, but also just to remind you that I am the author of Raising the Well Adjusted Child, a Parent's Manual. You can check out the QR code at the top of the page if you want to grab a copy of that. It is on Amazon. It's a great book and a great one to have if you're going to do a parent study or a book club with some friends, a mom's group, a dad's group, something like that. But check it out. It is a great book. Would love to have you connect with me about this, especially if you are a leader in a school and you want to have someone come and talk to your parent group. Let me know. I'd be happy to do that for you. All right. Without further ado, let's bring our guest. We only have 30 minutes, so let's bring up Heather Jones. Hi, Heather.
Hi.
Welcome to Parent to Parent. We're
I'm so
excited.
glad to be here.
Yeah. Tell everybody a little bit about you.
Sure. So I'm Heather Jones. I am kind of in the Kansas City general metro area. I'm a mom of three. So my kids are currently 13, 9, and 6. So I've got definitely some separation, some space in between them. I also am a therapist. I do clinical social work. And so I specialize in self-harm and suicide and trauma. So this is a pretty stressful time.
Yeah.
Back to school.
Back to school time it's really stressful for families. It's stressful for kids of all ages. So thank you for what you do every day. That's a tough job, especially when you're specializing in some pretty heavy areas of
I
helping people.
I find I'm sorry, I keep
No,
interrupting your
it's a
talking.
conversation. You're good.
So I find that the difficulty that brings me is just not necessarily the comparison piece, but more so I have to be careful not to underreact, right? So
Mhm.
I had one of my kids come home and tell me this event that had happened that where someone had grabbed his shirt and it was very scary to him. And so I had spent a majority of the afternoon talking about some really tragic stuff that had happened to other kids. And I'm like, they grabbed your shirt, but you're okay. Like, right? You didn't have to go to the ER. You didn't like all these things because I'm so used to hearing them over and over and over. So I
Right.
try really hard not to underreact.
Right. Or desensitize, right, from what you really work with that might be a higher, stress level topic or conversation or higher risk, I guess you could say something like that. So, yeah, that is true. I think in both of our professions, honestly, Heather,
Mhm.
you as a therapist, me as it being in education, I've said to people, I've seen every family dynamic. I've probably heard every story that there could possibly be, and you do have to be cautious of that, right? When you're dealing with your own
Mhm.
children, to not desensitize yourself or to not listen to what they have to say. So that's a great start, just even in our conversation today. It's back to school. You're a mom of three. You've got three kids in school at different grade levels, too, right? So
Mhm.
you've got one in middle school and two in elementary.
I do.
Correct.
Mhm.
And so, how do you manage all of that? I mean, it's back to school, supplies, meet the teacher, open house, all of that. Got to be in multiple places at one time. How do you manage that?
So it is a lot. My calendar and getting on it as early as I can and blocking dates off are really the thing that is helpful to me. With we had popsicle pop in the back to school night and all that. And it was early enough that I'm calling people and saying, hey, can you please move? I need to go meet teachers. Um, so there's a lot with the calendar and making sure that I have the time off and being really intentional with it
Yeah.
is also really important to me.
I understand completely and I agree with you. Like, I'm very much a calendar person, but sometimes these back to school dates really sneak up on us, don't they?
Yes.
They really sneak up and you're like, oh my gosh. And so here you are trying to move a client, well, what's their need? Can I move them to this time? Will they be okay
Yes.
with that change? Or, and while I don't know about you, but I could send my husband to go in lieu of me or my mother. They would have probably done that for me. But me as the mom, I wanted to go.
Yes.
And it's important for my kids that I
Yeah.
would be there.
Yeah. So this year, my partner and I ended up having to tag team. So he ended up going to the back to school night, or I'm sorry, the popsicle pop in, meet the teachers.
Yeah.
And I ended up going to the back to school night later. Um, and so I asked him, of course, right? Like, how was the teacher? How does she seem? Like, what did she look like? So I can get this idea in my head. And of course, he's like, I don't know. I wasn't looking. I wasn't paying attention. Why do you want to know?
I don't know. We went and met them. We had popsicles. We did our thing, right? I love that. That is so funny. It's so true too. That happens like that. And I know even for me, like there were times though my schedule wouldn't allow it because I was in a school and they were in a school. So my meet the teacher night might be the exact same night theirs was. And me being the principal, I may have to have been there,
Mhm.
to support that. And so those were hard choices to make and, hard to do. Um, how do you have that conversation with your kids? That you can't be there or you both can't be at the same place.
Yeah. So that is really, really, really hard. And I will tell you, when I first opened private practice, my oldest was just a teeny tiny baby, right?
Hmm.
But as part of opening a private practice, I was really hungry. I worked a lot of hours. I had to bring in income to help support my family.
Hmm.
And so I spent a lot of time working. And this was before telehealth, before virtual was accepted, and all of that. And so he asked me one day, he said, or he asked me if I live at my office now or if home was still my home. And that was when I was like, okay, I gotta cut back. I need to get more balance. And
Mm.
so my kids are aware that I am a therapist, that I work with people who have really, really big worries, problems, and fears. And so sometimes I have to meet with those people when they're available because their worries, problems, and fears are so big.
Hmm. Yeah. That is hard. And explaining that to your kids, they probably understand it more now, but that is hard. You do have to explain that, one, I have to have a job and I have to work. So, and then I'm here in the people helping business. And so I have to be available to people who are in need of me at this time. But
Mhm.
dad or someone can take care of you, grandma can take you, and you'll be okay. You'll still get to
Absolutely.
go to popsicle night. And
Yeah.
so I remember going shopping for school supplies, and I remember one of my friends, she was a teacher, she didn't have any children, and she said, I'll go with you to go school supply shopping. And I was like, really? She was, yeah, you give me one list and you take a list of the kids and we'll go our separate ways. And she came back and she was like, this is absolutely ridiculous. Like, she was
Mhm.
like, what do you mean they need a red folder, a blue folder, a yellow folder? What, they don't have any of those over there. That she wants the one with the kittens on it and she wants the this. And so it was really eye-opening for someone who was an educator even but a non-parent to really see what do we have to go through with going through these lists and our school supplies. How do you
Mhm.
manage that with 3 kids? Because I know with 2 kids, it's a lot.
Yeah. So, our schools do something that's really, really, really great. And that is in April when they open enrollment for the following year. They also send out a here's the school supplies. You can get them yourself, or here's a company that if you just click
Yes.
the grades, then we will deliver it. We will do, and I do that every year because It's a lot.
It's a lot to take them back to school shopping, isn't it?
Yeah.
It really is. There's a lot to manage and to go through. So I agree with that. So how do you manage getting your kids ready for the school year? Like, what are some strategies that you use
Mhm.
to get them ready to be, whether it's mentally, emotionally, physically,
Mhm.
ready for school?
Yeah. So the big one at our house is more so getting back into the schedule. So,
Mm.
everybody needs to go to bed at time, like on time. There's not, hey, give me 30 minutes more to do this thing. Maybe I'll give you 5 and then you can go brush your teeth. But really, it's getting to bed on time and then getting up early ish.
Mhm.
My 2 littles are early risers, which is wonderful. One is mostly an early riser, but when she sleeps, she sleeps. She'll sleep till 11 o'clock. And you can go in and say, honey, it's time to wake up. And she will tell you to go away. So she is probably one of the harder ones to get into schedule. And then my older one asked me this year if I will start earlier next year because he feels like he needs an additional week just to
I
make the
love that.
adjustment.
So how many days in advance do you start getting them back into a routine?
So I kind of start being more firm with bedtime about 2 weeks ahead of time.
Mm.
And then the earlier schedules, I just start backing them up, right? We might do a couple of days where their wake up time is 8 o'clock and a couple of
Mm.
days where it's 7:45 and a
Gotcha.
couple of, yeah,
Yeah. And that takes a lot of structure and organization on your end as the mom.
yeah.
To plan that out and to make yourself, because let's face it, it's kind of fun when they're up a little longer and you don't have to force them to go to bed. And it's kind of nice when they've got a little bit more time, to kind of relax in the mornings. You don't have to rush so much in the mornings, but that does take some discipline on your end as the mom to be able to do that. And
And I have to be like a fun killer because
yeah,
in the summer, it is a huge thing for us to go out and to catch fireflies or lightning
sure.
bugs and just sit and enjoy. But my daughter for a while would go out every night and tell them good night and she would see them tomorrow. It was the cutest thing. But then she's like, "Can we go like play more with the fireflies?" And I'm like, "No, go brush your teeth."
And that's a boundary, right? And you got to hold those firm. Like to you, that just sounds like, no, I just told her no. To you, it sounds like, oh, I just start this 3 weeks early. But to some parents, like, this is something that they probably haven't tried and will make their school year better just by
Mhm,
implementing these simple little strategies that
mhm,
take some time and practice and conversations with your kids, just like when you
mhm,
talked about with your oldest son. Now, I have a story, I'll give you the short version of it with my youngest when she was 2. Getting her to daycare was a miserable activity. She was awful. But I thought I was doing her a favor by scooping her up in her PJs
mhm.
because she said, just bring her to PJs and I'll get her dressed and ready for the day. Oh, it was a horrible ride. She cried the whole way. And I finally said, what's going on with you? Tell me why you cry every day. And she said, I need stretch time. She's like 2.5.
Oh.
And I was like, what is stretch time? I don't even know what that means, which means perfect sense to me. I like to get up. I don't go to work
Mhm,
until 8. I get up at 5:30,
mhm,
5:45, get
mhm,
my coffee, watch an hour of the news,
mhm,
work out, go for a walk, get my shower. Like I've got my routine. I
mhm,
don't roll out of bed and go to work. So
mm-mm.
I said, do you want me to wake you up earlier? And she said, yes. And
Yeah.
I was like, oh, well, our world would be
Yes.
so much easier. She needed stretch time. She needed some time to just kind of wake up. And
Yeah,
so the fact that your son shared with you, I need to do this practice a little bit earlier was pretty amazing. I love
yeah,
that.
yeah.
And we,
And oh, go
no,
ahead.
go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I check in with them quite a bit. I probably overdo that, and I know, some people think it's really silly, but I will say what went well this morning, what were things that we think we need to work on more. And so we kind of review like, oh, it really worked that I woke you up by playing music or I had the music going.
Mm-hmm.
It really helped that I came in and touched your leg instead of, hollering from wherever.
Sure. That's really important. Communication. I'm picking up on that, right? Small
Mhm,
strategies, some changes, communication with your kids. How did
mhm,
that feel today? How are you doing with that? Is there another way that you want me to wake you up? I
mhm,
love that. And we don't often think about doing that with our kids,
mhm.
and really checking in with them and saying, "How's it going? How are you feeling about this?"
Yeah,
That's the therapist in you, which is great advice for other people. We
yeah,
just need to think that our way might be just the best idea when really there's a variety of ideas that can go. And checking in with your kids, regardless of their age, is so important
yeah.
because they start to know, they become their own little people. Now, we've got a question. Thank you so much, William, for being here tonight. Is there a higher burden on moms to want to feel present during those school meetings and first day versus the father, or have times changed?
Hmm. I think that is a great question.
Hmm.
So, my partner and I try to do things fairly balanced, but I would say I am more of the people person. And so I am more of the person who interacts at meetings and talks to the teachers. And I'm kind of our spokesperson for our family because I do love my partner, but he is an engineer, and that is not great for communication all the time.
Sure. I could see
So
that. Yeah.
I
Different
do.
skill set. Hmm.
Well, I was going to say, I also think the area that I'm in, I live in the Midwest, um, and it does seem like there's more of an emphasis on moms are going to be the ones who attend.
Hmm. I could see that too, depending on, maybe professions, times of work too, depending on when the open house is. But yeah, I think that a lot of times there is, but I do think it's changing some. I do think it's starting to change. I see a little
Mhm.
bit of a shift when I deal with parents,
Mhm.
or talk to parents. I have more male parents coming to me asking questions or, wanting to be
Good.
involved in things and coming to meetings, which is really, really nice to hear. So thank you, William, for that. And thank you, Nicole, for joining us today. I appreciate your time and energy here. And Leslie Flowers, thank you so much for being here and promoting our show on Monday evenings. Greatly appreciate you. And Jackie Hallberg, thank you so much. Your fellow therapist here. And I did want to say also, congratulations. Nicole is doing a great book on men, money, and mental
Yes.
health. Love that project. Amazing. So thanks for doing that with us. So another thing that I want to ask you is transition from summer school to school time. I was telling Heather this behind the scenes that I noticed a change in my children's behavior. I always tried to make it the days before the last days of summer, whatever that last day of summer was, I wanted to make it special. We have an event, we'll have a party, we'll go to this place, we'll do something. We go to the zoo, we're doing something big. And inevitably, it would be the not most fun day of the summer. Somebody would be having a meltdown. Somebody did this, the timing wasn't right, the weather didn't work out. Like it never turned out the way I wanted it to be. And until I learned about transitions and how people react transitioning from summer to school. So talk to us about like what do kids experience with those transitions and what kind of changes in behavior can you see in kids?
Yeah. So things that I notice are that kids are definitely experiencing the transition from whatever setting they have been in. They are now in a different setting, more than likely, with probably more people than they were around. And there is typically a structure that may not have been used over the summer. One thing I try to remember myself is when I start a new job, when I, started grad school or college or anything, my brain was tired, probably for the first 2 months, right? I would come home from work just exhausted because my brain had learned so much new information about what I needed to do and how I can help. And here's this intervention, and here's how you apply this. And I just was so fatigued. And so I keep that in mind, that these kids, not only are they starting to learn and having big changes, we have our kids in summer camps where they are moving and running, and one of them has ADHD. So it is amazing for him. And then we go back to school and we're like, please sit here for 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work for him. So I just try to remind myself that they are going through all of these changes every single day. They are learning new things about their friends, about education in general, about the school that they're going to, all of that. They have got to be as fatigued, as exhausted as I am when I start new things. And I
And
think
we
that
don't
gives me extra patience.
we don't think kids feel that way.
Mm-mm.
I mean, I really think as adults, we think, oh, they're fine. They're going to a new school. Oh, you have a new teacher. Aren't you excited about that? And they might be like, I don't know. Like,
Mhm.
there's a big fear of the unknown, too. Even though it's the same school, it's a new teacher, it's new classmates, it might be a new hallway, it's a
Mhm.
new grade, it's new content. Like, there's a lot of things that come along with that. And even exciting things can still be stressful and worrisome.
Mhm.
Maybe they get to be in band for the first time. Maybe they get to be in choir. Maybe clubs finally come available for them. Those things become exciting but stressful,
Mhm.
and we don't think about that for kids. And also, there's also like social economic statuses of kids
Mhm.
and families that make it hard for kids sometimes. Like they might think, I want to do this, but I'm afraid to ask my mom for the money. I don't know if she'll have the money,
Mhm.
or I
Mhm.
don't want to ask her. She probably
Mhm.
maybe has the money, but if they've heard stories like, we don't have money for that, we can't afford this, then they might be
Mhm.
more hesitant or more fearful about going to there or asking for a new lunchbox, or maybe they don't have a new lunchbox for that. Like there's so many different factors that we don't realize as kids are transitioning from one place to the next grade level or
Mhm.
next year.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, and we live in an area where most people's basic needs are met, and
Yeah.
then a little bit more, right?
Mhm.
And I know it's really hard on the kids who aren't
Mhm.
able to afford that, who don't have a parent that stays at home all day or can volunteer in the classroom.
Right. You know what? That was a thing with my daughter. My oldest wanted me to volunteer, and I work the same hours I would even when I was a teacher, and so they did work, they started school earlier.
Mhm.
And I was able to go in and work in her classroom a couple of times, but that was
Oh.
important to her, like
Mhm.
she really wanted that. That was because other moms were coming, but her
Mhm.
mom was working,
Mhm.
you know?
Mhm.
Little pieces and those little nuances, but really talking to your kids, I think, is such a great, um, it's the best strategy I think that I've ever had with my kids is just sitting down and talking to them,
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
know, and
And
hearing what they have to say and then figuring out how together can you guys make that work.
mhm. Car time for
Yeah.
us has been phenomenal because the boys did taekwondo about 20 minutes away. So I'm not really a radio person. I will listen to podcasts, but I do appreciate true crime things, which is not always, or even sometimes, I guess, appropriate
Yeah.
to listen to around the kids. They don't want to hear it anyway. So it doesn't really matter. But the silence is there.
Yeah.
And we might drop a little something like, tell me all the stuff about school, your friends, how everybody's feeling, who you're talking to, all of that.
Yeah.
And before long, the silence just gets filled in.
And not how was your day? Not
No.
just how was your day? Tell me who you're talking to. Who did you sit by at lunch today? Who
Mhm.
did you play with at recess?
What did you play at
What
recess?
did you play at recess? Like really getting into specific questions about their social parts of their day too is really important. Super important. I love that. So I'm picking and choosing some of these questions. I had a lot of good questions for Heather. I'm excited to say. But do you have any specific traditions that you do with your kids before they go back to school?
Not really. So I try to spend a day with each of them where they pick what we do and we go and we do it, and it's just one-on-one time.
Yeah.
So I try to do that, but I wouldn't really call it a tradition. Um, my mother was an educator. We lost her during COVID, not from COVID, but during that time.
Yeah.
And so she would call the morning of school and get everybody hyped up and how great it was going to be. And then when we would get home, the kids would FaceTime her and just
Oh,
tell her all about everything.
oh,
And
I
that was
love
pretty
it.
amazing.
That is pretty awesome. Yeah. And that one-on-one time with each child is amazing too. Like that I recommend to any parent, anytime that you can have just one-on-one time with one of your children or, a couple of them at a time, something like that, depending on how many you have, is so nice. So nice. So, kids are excited usually to move to the next grade level. Now I'm not in kindergarten anymore. I'm a first grader. Now I'm not in elementary school. I'm in middle school, and they're excited to move on
Hmm.
most of the time. How do you feel about that as a mom? About your kids growing up?
So I am incredibly sentimental. I know, hard to believe. Um, and my kids love to poke fun at that. So my oldest son, 13, 8th grade, will come to me and be like, Mom, it's my last first day of middle school. Mom, next year I'll be in high school. I might even be able to drive myself to school. Like, I'm like, no. And at 14, he can't drive to school alone, but it's just like he just loves to poke at it. So, but I get very, very sentimental, and I will this summer I pulled out, I'm going through the phone looking at pictures. I'm like, look at this, you're so tiny.
I love the parents, and I never did this. I never did the first day pick with my kid. I mean, I did take some, but I don't think I was as religious, like withholding the sign of what they wanted to be and all of that kind of thing. I was never great about that, but I do remember being excited for them as they moved on to the next phase of their life, but also being sad. And I get the whole that's my baby. I mean, the first one, I was excited for her for everything. And then once my youngest went to kindergarten, I was pretty sad. Like, I
Yeah.
knew that time in my life was never going to come back for,
Yeah.
that just that time where they didn't have anywhere that they had to go, and that was hard for me personally.
Mm.
But and the high school graduations, I was pretty happy about. It was fine. I'll be honest with you. I will be honest with you. I was like, okay. I kind of felt like I had hit some milestones, like, you know, we made it through high school. Everybody graduated. We all have a diploma. Like, I kind of felt like as a mom, like, whew, I did it. Check, 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 check.
Yeah. Yes.
And I hate to say those things, but it's really true. Nobody got really in trouble. Everybody passed. We have friends still.
Yeah.
little, little
I
things
will.
like that. Yeah.
I was going to say, I'm loving the online grade book, right?
Yes.
Because my oldest, I was like, the teachers email me and I see your grades. And he was like, no, I did not know that. Yep.
Yep, son, I can see everything. I love
Yep.
that. I love that. Yes. Well, my gosh, I can't believe our time is already almost up. Thank you for sharing some of your tips. Do you have any last message that you would like to share with our parents about back to school?
Yeah. So it's going to be okay. And if you're able, I recommend like trying to connect with the memories of you at that age, right? Like my son's going into fourth grade. So, what was my fourth grade year like? What did I think about? All of that kind of stuff, and trying to connect with that will help you understand how to connect better with them.
I love that. That is great. Going back into yourself of what did you feel? What were your worries? What were your fears? What were you excited about? What were you
Mhm.
involved in at that age? I love that. So that is so great for our parents to remember those types of things. So thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you, Heather, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you'll see Heather again. If you want to come to the Work Life Balance Summit, she'll be there. She is a panelist for us for the Work Life Balance Summit. So we would love to see you then. Thank you,
Cool.
Heather. And I wish everybody a great week and a happy back to school for many of you. And we'll see you next Monday.
Thank you.